We're joined today by Alidad Tash, Managing Director of 28 Limited. Thank you for joining us in this new year. It's been an exciting time. We saw that 2023 was finally the big ramp up, in particular for Macau. Could we delve into Macau a little bit? How did that go? Were you expecting what had happened within 2023?
Well, first of all, we started the year, we were not sure until January 8th that the borders were going to open. If you recall, we ended with a disastrous December 2022 in COVID. But suddenly the gates opened January 8th, things looked good, and all the analysts went from pessimistic to more optimistic. The challenge was that most analysts expected the growth to be maybe to 35%, maximum 40% of what gaming revenues were in 2019 before the pandemic. And it was just astounding to see Macau did 63%, far higher than anybody predicted. In 2023. So it was a spectacular success story given the very doom and gloom at the beginning of the year.
Well, we were both here throughout that whole process. So it's even more exciting for us being, based here in Macau to see that kind of growth and the resurgence of tourism and the optimism that comes along with it. Do you think that optimism is then going to continue?
I'm more of an optimist for this year. There are some factors that may slow the growth down. It could be that the current economic downturn in China may spread to Macau. It is possible that there may be a little bit more of a crackdown on where this money is coming from, but I don't see those factors as the likely ones. I actually think that this resurgence of mass is going to carry us forward. The beautiful thing about it is that unlike the previous, before the pandemic, where Macau was towards the end something like 60% mass, 40% VIP, now it's something along the lines of 85, maybe 90% mass, which is a much healthier mix, which is what the government has been asking for. The government has also been asking for non-gaming, and that's also something that's very healthy. The six gaming operators are really trying to become non-gaming operators. And actually, that's very healthy.
It was a tough year for the gaming operators just in general when they started off 2023, because they had just gotten the new licenses, which started on January 1st. They had to go through that whole massive tendering process, not really always understanding exactly what the government wanted. There was the idea that Genting could possibly come in to compete with everybody else. And then finally on January 8th, once the licenses had already been stated, then we started to see, okay, there is a possibility for this to actually revamp. But aside from what the analysts were thinking, just personally for you, were you expecting that it was going to grow that much and really see that much demand being here on the ground here in Macau?
No, I did not. As I said earlier, I don't think that we were expecting it to be this good, this fast. However, some of the operators, one operator in particular, did prepare for this. During the pandemic, when everybody else was trying to cut costs, they spent wisely. They retooled, they went and obtained the right group of sales hosts. They revamped it's almost as though they knew that there was going to be the starting gun of the re-race was going to sound off, and they heard it, or they knew it was coming. Everybody else was just kind of lying in the ground with their shoes untied and shoelaces untied, and these guys were up and ready. And the minute the government said go, they started running far ahead of everybody else.
And that operator would be?
MGM, both in the peninsula. They cleaned up all those closed satellites. They basically scooped up all that business, which is why they're so far head and shoulders above everybody else in the peninsula. And in Cotai, take their 2 years pre-pandemic. They only opened February 2018. Take that experience, add 3 years of kind of suffering like everybody else, and suddenly you had a little bit more of a much more mature team ready to go. And again, their readiness kind of got them off the starting gates faster than anybody else.
Well, it's interesting also to look at just the components of MGM. We do have Pansy Ho is the daughter of the Macau gaming king Stanley Ho, and has quite strong political connections as well. But then the company was it was the only one that was able to get an increase in their table allocation, right? They moved up to 750 tables. How do you think that impacted what happened over the course of the year?
Again, I think part of the reasons there's multiple factors for MGM's success. it is not, a lot of the people who kind of left behind started looking for excuses. Instead of saying, hey, they beat us. They beat us fair and square. They started whining, oh, we didn't get tables. Well, getting tables wasn't just a lucky draw. They decided, they evaluated the amount of money in terms of reinvestment and commitments that it's going to cost. And they said, yeah, we're going to go and make the necessary reinvestment so that we can obtain it. Other people didn't think that through. They thought this is not going to happen. They didn't spend the money. So that's already a concept of strategy, not just, again, lucky draw.
Mm-hmm.
But there are multiple factors. It's also not as superficial as the bubble tea and popcorn, which is some of the very luxurious properties thought that was the case. It was a combination of multiple factors: a young team, an enthusiastic team, optimism about the future, additional tables, throwing things at the wall and seeing what sticks instead of being very cost conscious like some of the other properties are. The ones that are a little bit more CFO driven, I think they're much more conservative. This was not the time to be conservative. When the gates open, it's whoever runs fastest that goes and accumulates the largest plot of land or whatever it is that you're trying to fight off, instead of being too cautious. And I think some of the other properties were a little bit too cautious and they lost ground.
Yeah, fair enough. And I mean, they do tend to be pretty much the only operator which does have a foot completely in both camps. You know, they've still got the MGM United States link, and then Pansy Ho is coming from the legacy of the Stanley Ho era that was here in Macau. They did so well despite having, I mean, what we're looking at, Sands China's got like 1,680 tables, SJM's 1,250, Galaxy's 1,000, MGM's only got 750, but they still managed to steal that market share, in particular from Galaxy and SJM. Let's look at the winners first. So we've looked at MGM. Is there other winner that comes? And then let's look at some of the losers who lost market share within 2023.
Are you talking about within 2023? Well, listen, I mean, the biggest winner was obviously MGM. I think Galaxy did quite well. Galaxy did lose market share, but the good news for Galaxy is that the market share they lost was in the least profitable of all segments. The most profitable segment in terms of profit margin, the amount of money you can bank at the end of a day, is mass and premium mass, then premium direct, and then junkets. Galaxy lost the most in junkets, which is the least valuable. A typical junket dollar, only 10 cents, 10%, you get to basically keep. Everything else is spent in commission and taxes and other expenses. Not so for mass. Mass anywhere from 30, 35, up to 45%, depending on how you count it. So technically, you can lose $4 million in junkets. 4 million lost in junkets can be compensated with $1 million gain in mass. And that's what Galaxy did. Yeah, in terms of total revenue, they may have lost market share because they lost junkets. Junkets are no longer who they used to be. But collectively, in terms of EBITDA, in terms of profit, in terms of all the other factors, they did quite well.
We don't have the results yet for the fourth quarter individually from the operators, but we do know that overall 2023 GGR was 18.56 billion patakas. That's up 433% yearly, and actually down only 18.7% compared to 2019. That was December. Full year 2023 was 183.05 billion. Down only 37% compared to 2019. That last quarter, though, it looks like it's going to be quite good. Once we see the results coming out, what are your expectations for that?
Well, the results did not come out for the operators, but collectively, what is absolutely amazing to me, I think one of the most interesting stats of last year, is that the fourth quarter of 2023, in terms of mass, forget junkets, they're dying or they're in an intensive care unit. If you look at mass alone, fourth quarter generated more mass than any quarter in Macau's history in terms of mass, even higher than the heyday in 2019 or the good old days in 2013. Mm-hmm. More mass was generated. That is what's so amazing about it. That's why I think 2024 is going to be really good. Just take the fourth quarter and annualize it. Just take fourth quarter and multiply by 4. That already puts you way ahead of the game before you add all these additional infrastructure, all these additional hotel rooms, all these other goodies that are going to come into play. So I think that's why I'm much more of an optimist for 2024.